We're here in the studio with Jef Fisk, who's a singer-songwriter from, I guess Eastern Michigan, who put out 2 records here in the mid '70s. And why don't you introduce yourself, Jeff? I'm really excited to have you here.
Nice to be here. I Rodney found me after a year of research, apparently, and
Yeah.
I'm thrilled to be here. We'll
All right.
do a few songs, but I think we're going to talk for a while first, right?
Yeah, I'll ask you a few questions. And I thought a good way to start would be the way I was introduced to you is you're listed in a book called Acid Archives, which is kind of a underground music Bible to a sense. And I became aware of your record, so I looked you up, and I had asked you if you had ever heard of this, and I don't think you have, what the description was. And what the book said was obscure loner folk LP from Michigan. Its titles such as Travelin' Pancakes, Peanut Butter Buddy, Blue Jean Day, and Lawnmower Boy, with gruff vocals and great offbeat lyrics to match. In the mid '70s, Fisk also made For Sam, a rare number pressing of 100 copies, included in the CD reissue. The solo LP isn't numbered, but one can figure it to be about as rare. Comes in great homemade looking cover with great drawings of Fisk and a very crude label logo. And that intrigued me because I like serious musicians with silly attitudes, and the names were pretty exciting. What do you think of that description?
It sounds perfect to me.
I don't
the
find your
loner
voice
part
gruff.
I don't know about. I haven't thought about that, but the rest of it's I'll accept that.
So I guess the follow from there was, what got you started in music, kind of what age?
Great, sure. Well, I remember seeing the Beatles on, I think in 1964, 63 or 64, Jack Parr, The Tonight Show. He had a little clip of the Beatles. He was very amused by them because they had what at the time was considered long hair. He called them the mop heads. And anyway, the Beatle craze got us all into to rock and roll. I mean, we liked Ricky Nelson and Elvis and all that stuff before, but wow, the Beatles, they were singing harmonies and they were doing really cool stuff. So we started having Beatle imitations in my basement. My friends would come over and we'd play the records a million times, and we had broomsticks that we would pretend were guitars. And eventually, we got curious about, well, what if we had real guitars? So I went out and bought a T-Sco from, I think it was Kmart or something like that, and started playing guitar, mostly self-taught. I took a few lessons from a guy in the area who was in a band called the Noblemen, and they were really good, but I don't think they ever recorded.
Yeah, I never heard of them.
Anyway, so I was in a rock band for a while, and then after a while, rock bands break up because of all kinds of reasons. So we broke up, had another rock band for a short time, and then discovered the acoustic guitar. Whew. Hadn't heard of that before. And got one of those and started playing, strumming, and I think I wrote a couple of songs that were very adolescent. And went to upstate, when I was in college, I went to upstate New York to teach archery in a resort, a family resort on Lake George, beautiful Lake George. I met a young woman there who was finger picking the guitar, and I was like, wow, how do you do that? So she showed me a few things on that, and I just started writing a lot at that point. Came back to Michigan after that summer and started looking for coffee houses to play in.
All right.
And, the rest just sort of evolved.
Huh. So did you start playing just in the Grosse Pointe area where you're from, or in?
I wasn't from Grosse Pointe then.
Okay.
I live there now, but at the time I was living, my mother's house was in St. Clair Shores,
Okay.
which is farther out a little bit. But I was probably at that point living down on Wayne State's campus.
Okay.
On Willis.
All right.
Because I was a student there. But no, I would play. There were a lot of churches and I played in a lot of bars, but the churches had coffee houses for their young people to come and listen to music. There was a coffee house, the name of which escapes me at this point, out in the Ford Mansion on the University of Michigan Dearborn campus.
Huh.
And that was a big place there. Trying to work our way, or my way, up to something that was maybe a little more professional, like the Raven Gallery or the Chessmate.
Okay.
Eventually did get to play in both of those, mostly the Raven. But that was the deal. Have a guitar, we'll travel.
Yeah. Did you ever play in any of a couple venues that were here in Ann Arbor? The Arc or the Canterbury House.
I didn't know about the Canterbury House. I did audition at the Arc one time, and it sort of freaked me out. I'm sure that David Siglin probably thought that I had brought the audience, and therefore the standing ovation that I got at the end of my guest set was a plant. But as it turns out, I brought a girl, and that was it. I didn't know another soul in the audience, but he didn't think that...
He thought it was rigged.
He didn't... Either that or he just didn't like what I was doing. I'm not sure. But in any case, he decided not to engage me. And later on, when I perhaps was a little more polished, when he might have been interested, I was playing at the Raven Gallery, and that was a one or the other kind of a deal.
Now, did you get involved with the Raven before your first LP, or?
No, it was after.
Okay.
Shortly after.
What led up to your LP here? And for people listening that don't know, that Jeff's first album was "It's All Root Beer,"
Right.
which my big question was, why that name? Because the album has no reference to root beer at all in the songs.
Interesting. Yeah, there actually was a title song called "It's All Root Beer," but we recorded it and. Don't know whatever happened to the recording of that, but after listening to it, I thought, nah. But I liked the title. The phrase actually came from a girlfriend that I had at that resort on Lake George that I was talking about.
Okay.
Instead of saying whatever, which hadn't worked its way into the lexicon in the way that it is today, she would just say, "It's all root beer," And sort of a side note to that is everybody thought, well, that must be because he loves root beer.
To be honest, I almost brought root beer to give you because of it.
As it turns out, I hate root beer. I never drink root beer. So
That's funny.
Yeah.
And so then it's your label as well, Bird Productions.
Right. I was singing in a coffee house and then later a bar in Boston. In the winter of 73, 74. And my co-writer and cousin was there working in Boston at the time. And we went to this one coffee house where I eventually played called The Sword and the Stone. And there was a young man there playing. His name was Bill Staines, and he's still around. He's got a whole bunch of albums, but he had an album, and he was selling it there. And I don't know, while I was sitting there, I thought, I could do that.
Yeah.
I mean, his music was his music, and he was very, very good. Probably better than I was at the time, and maybe still. But as far as the mechanics of that, it suddenly dawned on me that all I had to do was figure out how to get it onto vinyl, and I'm sure I knew I could figure that out. So when I came back to Michigan, I found a friend, Ted Lucas, who's somebody that you've followed a little bit.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Ted Lucas's.
And he explained the process of getting it from tape, which I knew how to do, to vinyl. And so we took off and did that. I started my own label. I had, of course, tried to sell songs in New York and Los Angeles, and just as a songwriter or as a performer, or both, and didn't have much success.
Yeah.
But I thought, what the heck, do it myself, and if it never goes anywhere, so what? I spent some money, so that's what we did.
That being said, the label is an interesting little bird drawing, and where did that come from?
Another girlfriend story.
So you were a ladies' man.
Well, maybe, yeah. A lot of times I didn't know it. In retrospect, I think, ooh, that could have been. Never mind. Anyway, I I had a girlfriend in high school who was sort of into art. That was her main thing. And we still keep in touch, by the way. So
Yeah.
a happy ending there. But
I'm sure your wife loves that.
no, it's fine. It's fine. They've met each other. It's no big deal. But Terry was her name, and she had drawn this bird, goofy looking bird, for me as a part of a birthday present. And I think she drew it on paper, and then she decorated it onto a huge cookie, a big chocolate chip cookie or something like that. Anyway, I thought it was a pretty cool thing, so I was looking for an idea for a label. I figured they've got to have a label name, so
Yeah.
I came up with Bird
Well,
and used that as a logo.
it's a brilliant label name, and the drawing is great. I mean, some friends were very liked it a lot. But speaking of the drawings, before we get into the music here, I know the front of your cover is a photograph.
Yeah.
But who drew the back picture of you?
I don't remember what it is. Oh,
Because
self-portrait.
You drew it yourself.
Yeah. I took an art class at Wayne State, and we had an assignment to do a series of 5 drawings that transform something from one thing to another.
Okay.
So I transformed myself from that picture, which was fairly realistic at the time. The hair's a little different now. To transform myself into a guitar in the series of the hair started getting a little more stylized, and eventually at the end I'm a guitar.
Well, it's about knowing that and seeing it. It's kind of like, well, what is going on here? Drawing, and is part of what intrigued me about this album a lot when I saw pictures of it. So you recorded this one in 74?
74, yeah.
74. And from the description, I thought it's going to be as rare as your second album for Sam, which was numbered 100. But you said that it was about 800 pressed?
I think so, yeah.
Around 800.
As well as I could remember something that
Which
far back.
It's a pretty large pressing, really, for...
Yeah, it was in 2 flights of
Yeah.
400, if I remember correctly. 400 was a price break, so that was why it was a magic number. Yeah.
Makes sense. And you told a little bit about the company that pressed the record. What was the name?
Root Beer was done here in Detroit by a company named Archer Pressing.
Okay.
And it was at a time, in 1974, there was an oil embargo going on, so finding good vinyl was really a challenge. And that was one of the problems with that album. The guy at Archer didn't necessarily find good vinyl, so it's a little noisy.
It's in the little lo-fi.
Yeah.
But it's a very interesting album. I think that it's great how a lot of silliness in some of the songs.
Yeah.
And I think that that's one of the things that's very appealing to that record. And then when I spoke to you, I hadn't heard For Sam, and luckily I found a copy before getting to see you here and have you on the show. And you said it was a better record, but good luck finding it. And I asked you, why didn't you press more of the second one? Because there's only 100 released.
There were a couple of reasons. The main reason was I just didn't have the money to press more. And I was going through a little bit of a transition in my musical career at that point. And, by the time we sold the 100, it was time for me to start thinking about doing something else for a while.
Okay.
So I took a 35-year sabbatical, and now I'm back. Now, I was playing and doing some casual recording during that 35 years, but I would do, whenever possible, a benefit performance for some charity.
Okay.
Services for older citizens, or the high school choir, they needed costumes, or, whatever, stuff like that.
Was it just kind of like starting a family, get a day job kind of transition, or?
Yeah, I mean, that's the way it evolved. I think it was actually, I was working with Tom Shader at the time, a fabulous bass player, still working, playing jazz out in the San Francisco area, or Santa Rosa, I think is where he lives. But we were starting to get some momentum. We were trying to get into the Chicago market, which was really hot for the folk singer thing, but I didn't have much in the line of connections there. And we managed, I found an agent who got us an audition at the Earl of Old Town, which was like the peak. It was the Raven Gallery of Chicago. Only they had alcohol there, which the Raven did not. Anyway, we did an audition, and Earl was sort of a quirky guy. Didn't get to know him very well, but he thought we were good enough to bring back to do like opening act stuff, but they wouldn't pay us, which I would have done. But
Okay.
the agent turned it down, and we were never able to make contact with Earl Pianki again. So that was a dead end. I was Herb Cohn, who was the owner of the Raven Gallery, was a big supporter of mine. He brought me in to open for some really major acts, Steve Martin
Oh wow.
and Pat Paulson a couple of times, some other people that you probably wouldn't have heard of, but so he was very much a supporter of mine, and he was willing to help out in whatever non-threatening way there was. And he passed away. And, I was just sort of looking at it. I had no gigs lined up, and Tom wanted to move to California, and I wasn't ready to do that for a variety of family reasons. So we just sort of drifted out. When Herb passed away, his widow asked me to manage the club for a while until she figured out what she wanted to do. So I spent about 2 years doing that.
That's the Raven.
The Raven Gallery, yeah. Great place. They had some wonderful acts there. Corky Siegel, Jim Schwall, Sonny Terry and Brownie McGee, Chuck Mitchell, Michael Smith and his wife, Barbara Smith, who went by Barbara Barrow. And I produced albums for both Chuck and for the Smiths. And anyway, so it was at a time when things were changing in my life, and I was getting up there to approaching 30 at that point and thinking, well, I guess it's time for me to become a citizen. The joke I tell about this is that, well, I wanted to pay taxes, and I wasn't making enough money as a folk singer, even with the side job of a photographer, to pay taxes. So I went out there and got a job that would enable me to pay taxes. So.
All right. That's pretty funny. So you went into IT, but you still done performing arts during that time?
Oh yeah, I've done some theater. I'm a very active member, perhaps too active at this moment, but of Grosse Pointe Theater.
Okay.
It's a local amateur community theater kind of thing. It's been in business for about almost 70 years.
Wow.
But I did a couple of shows for them. Pump Boys and Dinettes was a highlight.
Okay.
I got to play guitar, sing, talk with a southern accent, and I could, as long as I hit certain things in the script, everything else was okay. I could ad-lib all I wanted, and that was just fine with the director. So that was a perfect fit, So I had a lot of fun with that. Did some other theater around the area, and as I said, I was playing the occasional benefit concert for whoever needed the money, I guess. I love to play. I love to play for a nice audience of whatever size, small, big. In fact, I'm going to be doing a fundraiser for Grosse Pointe Theater tonight in Grosse Pointe at the City Kitchen.
It's a great coincidence.
Yeah, right. And we're probably not allowed to talk about the cost of that, but if you're interested, you can call 313-881-4004, and they'll tell you all about it. One night only. Small venue. So.
Oh, cool. Well, how about we have you play a few songs for us then,
Sure.
Jeff, if you don't mind.
I'll start with one from It's All Root Beer, the opening song. Think about a hillside in an August summer sun, bench shade trees and willow breeze, no more being one. Golden hair and golden smiles to share a lazy day. Think out loud for long enough and it may come your way. It may come your way. Hear what you want to, little boy. Paint your picture as you see it, as you want it to be. Make your sun a smiling blue, make your house a smiling too. For you, Jody's sure to be here in the morning. Picking round the autumn on a turning country day. Rusty browns and chilly tones saying all the words you say. Change the way she's feeling like you change the world you see. Dream about it long enough, you may get what you see. You may get what you see. Hear what you want to, little boy. Paint your picture as you see it, as you want it to be. Make your sun a smiling blue, make your house a smiling too. For you Jody's sure to be here in the morning. Speak softly of a cabin with a warm November fire. Hot Ovaltine, hot ginger men, talking on for hours. Holding hands and holding her and watching morning come. Dream about it long enough and you will find someone. You will find someone. Hear what you want to, little boy. Paint your picture as you see it, as you want it to be. Make your sun a smiling blue, make your house a smiling too. For you Jody's sure to be here in the morning. Thank you.
Great. What inspired that song?
Well, my cousin Ed Tazia wrote the lyrics, and
All right.
I wrote the music to it. Actually, originally wrote it on a banjo, 5-string banjo, and then
Are we talking fingerpick style or claw
yeah,
hammer?
yeah, fingerpick style. Unfortunately, I'm not that good a banjo player, so I immediately transitioned it to
instrument.
the guitar. Anyway, I think he was, if I remember his story correctly, he was thinking about a kid in kindergarten who's drawing a picture, and he went to a Catholic school where everybody had to be right-handed, and the sun was yellow, and the house was, a square with a little diamond or a triangle on top, and that was the norm, and everybody was shooting for norm. And he was trying to break out of that as I guess a 20-year-old or 18-year-old or whatever. So he wrote this song about, hey, make the sun blue if you want. It's okay.
Yeah.
So
It's
sort of
it's funny because I think a lot of people might have interpreted it as kind of like they see that the back of your cover of your album, they think it's kind of an acid folk kind of thing, and maybe that's what I thought at least.
okay. Well,
But it's cool to hear the real story of it. For people just tuning in here, we're listening to this is singer-songwriter Jef Fisk is in the studio with us here talking and playing a few songs. And remind you, you're listening to WCBN FM Ann Arbor. And want to play us another one, Jeff?
sure. This is one that's not appeared on a published recording so far.
Exclusive then.
Yeah. If you open up your life to me, I'll try to guide you safely through all the hustling and the screaming. Somewhere near the edge of day, we don't know what to think or say. Wonder what each one of us is dreaming. Cut the bars of fear away from your heart. Let your love come flowing out to me. Though regrets may find their way, lose them at the start. We'll drift away together quietly, quietly. Love won't always find a way. Maybe or maybe not today, but we'll never know for sure unless we try. Lifetimes full of sunsets, dawn open to the midnight sun, makes us laugh so hard that we cry. Cut the bars of fear away from your heart. Let your love come flowing out to me. Though regrets may find their way, lose them at the start, we'll drift away together quietly, quietly. So much for us both to learn, when to tarry, when to turn, and how to tell you all that's on my mind. Love the present, soothe the past, the future's coming all too fast. Eat the golden fruit and leave the rind. Cut the bars of fear away from your heart. Let your love come flowing out to me. Though regrets may find their way, lose them at the start, we'll drift away together quietly, quietly.
Great. That's great. I like that a lot. Well, what else would you like to play for us?
Well, I'll do a song off the second album,
Okay.
and then we can perhaps wrap it up then.
Sure.
Get back and start getting this crud out of my throat for my concert tonight.
Well, I appreciate you playing with us.
Well, this song seems to be an evergreen kind of a song for me. You
Okay.
know, I think I probably wrote it when it's on the For Sam album, and I think I wrote it for that. But you know, as I said, the career was starting to wane a little bit at that point, so it's a little self-effacing in that respect. But I've had other periods in my life when I thought this song was like perfect for what was happening, and I'm sure most people have similar kinds of events in their lives. So
All right.
it's called Hard Times and Bad Luck. Been traveling down this river with a preacher and an old gray mare. Been hard times and bad luck, and I wish I could say I don't care. Hard times and bad luck, never feel at home anymore. Been traveling around looking for some work, but my feet are getting sore. Hard times and bad luck, like to settle that score, but my boat sprung a leak and my boiler's getting weak. I just slammed my hand in the door. Preacher man says, Lord be with you. The mare just fills up the floor. They had to give up one of them. I'm not sure which I'd rather lose more. Hard times and bad luck, never feel at home anymore. Been traveling around looking for some work, but my feet are getting sore. Hard times and bad luck, like to settle that score, but my boat sprung a leak and my boiler's getting weak. I just slammed my hand in the door. Like to see a friend of mine, and I'd like to stay for a while. Hate to show up empty-handed, but I'd sure like to see her smile. Hard times and bad luck, never feel at home anymore. Been traveling around looking for some work, but my feet are getting sore. Hard times and bad luck, like to settle that score, but my boat sprung a leak and my boiler's getting weak. I just slammed my hand in the door.
Well, I'm truly honored to have you come talk.
I'm honored to be here. This is
play.
I'm having a lot of fun with this.
It's funny for me when I'm searching for these records and I look in this book, and you read these descriptions, and it's kind of like they're like legends, or folklore in a way. So it's really special for me to get to actually meet the person and get to talk with you, and especially because I'm a fan, which makes it. Well, it's been hard for me to put my words together, but
Oh, you're doing great.
I had a lot of fun, and I really appreciate you coming to play. And,
Definitely my pleasure.
I want to thank Cameron and Max for engineering,
And David, don't forget David.
And David,
he was in there too.
I almost forgot David. I'm sorry, but I really do, and I appreciate you making the drive and playing with us today.
Great.
Now, if people want to get your music, do you have a website or anything?
That's a good point. Yes, I do. Jef-Fisk.com, and Jeff is spelled with one F.
All right. Well,
There's
that's
a
why
reason for that.
I couldn't find it for a little over a year for that reason.
Right. And there's a place there where you can leave me a message, and I will contact you with how to get a hold of my last CD, which was Antecedents. Has some of these songs on it.
Yeah, because that was one thing we didn't talk about real quick. There was a reissue of these records on CD in South Korea, was it?
Korea, yeah, South Korea. I'll tell you the story before I go. I was working in IT, and I got this on my work email. I got this email from somebody, and it had something about "It's all root beer" in the title, and I thought, as it turns out, I get a lot of emails, not a lot, but many emails that say, we'd like to get a copy of your vinyl CD or your vinyl record, and of course what they really want to do is sell it for whatever they can get on it because it's sort of rare.
Yeah, they go for over $100.
Yeah, and so I didn't even actually open the email.
Yeah.
It was just sitting in my inbox along with 1,000 other emails that I didn't open. And the next day, I got an email from my cousin, my co-writer, Ed Tazia, and all it said, it was that message forwarded to me, and it said, "Wow," and I could see that in the preview, and I thought, well, okay, I guess I better open this thing. So I opened it up, and it's this guy from Korea, and he wants to republish It's All Root Beer. He didn't even know about the other one. He wanted to republish It's All Root Beer and wondered if we could work something out. And he was willing to pay in advance for, some number of copies. And not that I was necessarily after the money, but, it was a nice gesture.
Yeah.
So we started corresponding via email. And eventually he decided to publish both of them on the same CD, and we added a couple of bonus tracks from some live recordings that I happen to have in my archive. So that's what he did, and he's got the rights to sell in all of Asia. Now, as it turns out, I've noticed it on eBay or maybe even Amazon. I'm not sure. They never put it up on iTunes or anything, and I haven't figured out how to do that with Antecedents yet. One of these days I'll figure out the best way to get that done. But
it's very hard to hear your older music without finding an actual record of it.
So, right. Well, there's on my website there's a clips section, and there's a few live video recordings of me singing some of this stuff, and other people, a lot of covers. I do a mixture of that now.
Yeah.
Back in the 70s, it was mostly our own material with a few exceptions. But now it's just a mix.
Well,
so.
Well, I really appreciated it.
With any luck, somebody out there will contact you, and you know how to get a hold of me.
I'm going to try my best to get someone to do a U.S. reissue.
Find a place to play,
Yeah.
But I love doing it, and I've really enjoyed being here with you today, Rodney.
I really appreciate it. Thanks again, man.
You're welcome.
All right. I think it's you're listening to WCBN FM Ann Arbor, and I think we'll fade into something else here, and I don't know if we'll play any Dead, but we'll get to it hopefully.